What if Deku joined Team JPDE? Chapter 15. Energetic Women. Monday. Day 43. Deku still couldn't believe what happened yesterday. He was now dating Penny, Evelyn and David. Deku still didn't know how to feel about this. He felt like they should all have a sit down and talk about this and set up some boundaries. Just for now, until they got more comfortable with each other. Deku decided to push those thoughts away to focus on more pressing matters. So looking for information on the flame was a bust, David said. Barring any new dream apparitions, we can consider that trail officially cold, Jack said. The flame a cold trail? That's a laugh, Evelyn snorted. And apparently the owner of the club has retired from that kind of business. Asking Young for help proved fruitless as well, Penny said. So that leaves us with exactly nothing, Deku said. Other than to beat the streets of Vale, do it the long and old-fashioned way, Jack said. I guess we have no choice, David said. Deku's scroll then went off after receiving a message. Huh. I wonder who it could be, Deku asked, as he took his scroll out. I want to play Neo Sent. Fantastic, Deku sarcastically said. Is it your secret cat admirer, Evelyn asked. Oh, the girl who physically assaulted you when you wouldn't shake her hand, Penny asked. Took her a while to call you back, Jack said. She was probably sharpening her claws, David said. I would have preferred if she never did. I'm not her cat toy, Deku said. Listen. You scratched and bit me, so unless you and your kitty claws are involved with the criminal underworld, I don't want to hear from you, Deku typed and sent. There we go. So, we should probably go around Vale bit by bit. With the 5 of us. I think we'll be able to get through one district today, Deku said. Sound like a good plan. And this could also broaden our possibilities. Since we don't need to talk about Howard in a way related to crime, Jack said. Deku then got another message from Neo. What if I am Neo Sent? She says she's involved with the criminal underworld, Deku said. Oh. What good luck, Penny said. Yes. Good luck indeed, Deku sarcastically said. Hey. Beggars can't be choosers, bucko, Evelyn said. But David is the one begging, Deku said. But you're my teammate. And teammates help each other out, David said. But we don't know if she's even telling the truth, Deku said. Which means we need to verify it firsthand, Jack said. Fine. Fine. I'll play with her, Deku said. Let's say I believe you. What do you want in return, Deku typed and sent. Meet me tomorrow evening at Junior's and we can talk more, Neo sent. Back to Junior's we go for this date, I guess, Deku said. Come on. I haven't even popped your cherry and you're already whoring yourself around, Evelyn said. Deku. Picking up more girls already. You're a very bad boy, David said. Okay. That's it, Deku said. I'm sorry, but I won't be able to make that. Though I do have toy you could play with to your heart's content, Deku typed and sent. Can I break it, Neo sent? Of course, you can, Deku typed and sent. Great, Neo sent. Okay. I no longer have a date, Deku said. Did you just get rid of our potentially only source of information, David asked. Nope. I don't have a date anymore. But now you do, Deku said. I do. You evil genius, Evelyn laughed. Wonderful execution, Penny laughed. What goes around, comes around, Jack laughed. Sure. Laugh it up, David said. Deku returned very late to his dorm room this night. As he entered the dorm room, he saw that the others were all asleep. He noticed that Evelyn and David had spent some quality time together and were in the bed he shared with David, so he would be sleeping in Evelyn's bed tonight. Deku then entered the kitchen and saw a meal wrapped in cling film and with a note on it. Saved you some dinner, hunky. Love, Evelyn, the note read, with a pink lipstick print on it. Deku smiled. Even though he had somehow ended up in a four-way relationship, he was willing to try to out. Though some aspects of the relationship were off the table, at least for now. Deku then heated his meal and had his dinner. He then entered the bathroom and had a shower before going to bed. Whilst Deku was sound asleep, he then felt his chest getting colder. Then he felt something moving up and down on his body. Deku then opened his eyes. As he did so, a pair of lips connected with his. He saw Evelyn on top of him. He then closed his eyes and began to kiss back. Evelyn placed her hands on Deku's left cheek and upper torso. Deku then placed his hands on Evelyn's body, but then he realized that. Evelyn then broke the kiss and sat up on Deku's crotch, showing Deku her naked body. Evelyn. What are you? Deku said, blushing heavily and covering his eyes. Good evening, hunky, Evelyn said. Why are you naked? Deku asked. So you prefer clothed sex? Evelyn asked. What? Deku asked. I do. Your busty thick girlfriend is on top of you naked. We're going to have sex, Evelyn said. But I'm not ready for that, Deku said. Well, your body says otherwise. And remove your hands from your face, Evelyn said. But you're naked, Deku said. Yeah, so. I've seen you naked. What's the big deal? Evelyn asked. I'm just not comfortable with any of this, Deku said. Fine, Evelyn said. Evelyn then leaned forward, pressing her boobs against Deku's chest. You can open your eyes now, Evelyn said. Deku slowly opened his, whilst he was still very uncomfortable seeing Evelyn naked. This was better. So, when are you going to be ready? Because I really want to do it with you and make up for my mistake, Evelyn said. Sorry, but I just don't feel ready, Deku said. Evelyn sighed. I figured, Evelyn said. This is the reason why you got me to drink, isn't it? Deku asked. Yeah. I wanted to make sure you wouldn't chicken out. Sorry about that, Evelyn said. It's fine. Just right now. I don't feel ready to have sex yet, Deku said. That's a good sign at least. Though please don't take too long, Evelyn said. No promises, Deku said. Oh, Evelyn said. Seeing how dejected Evelyn was, Deku came up with an idea. Hey. I have an idea for what we could do instead, Deku said. Really? What is it? Evelyn asked. As much as I may come to regret this. Every time you want to do it together, I'll make a note of it for later when I'm ready. And instead, we could cuddle and kiss, Deku said. Are you really sure you want to give me that power? Evelyn asked. No. But I trust you won't abuse it, Deku said. Okay, deal. So shall we get started? Evelyn asked. Can you put on some clothes first? Deku asked. Keep your top off and I'll put on my bra and panties, Evelyn said. That's the best I'm gonna get, isn't it? Deku asked. Yep, Evelyn said. Evelyn then hopped out of bed and walked to where her underwear rested on the floor, swaying her hips seductively as she walked. Deku wanted to look away, but he couldn't. He watched Evelyn slowly and seductively put on her panties and bra. She then looked at Deku staring and gave a devilish look. She then ran and jumped into bed with Deku, and they began their passionate night of kisses and cuddles, until they fell asleep. Tuesday. Day 44. After lessons had ended, Deku had decided to try and get Blake to relax. He had decided to call her. I heard you, Blake said. Hello, Blake. A good afternoon to you too, Deku said. I heard you and Young talking before class, Blake said. So Young was right. You were going to skip breakfast, Deku said. That's not important, Blake said. Well, if it's not important, why did you not come to class, then Deku asked. Blake didn't respond. Blake, I don't claim to know you better than your partner or yourself, but we both know you're smarter than this, Deku said. This is not a matter of brain. It's a matter of being prepared, Blake said. By overstressing yourself physically and mentally, Deku asked. Someone has to pick up the slack of the rest of Remnant, Blake said. Seems like we're talking in circles, Deku said. Kind of, Blake said. So, what do you want to talk about, Deku asked. Excuse me, Blake asked. I don't think I can change your mind, so talking about it just puts more stress on you. Thus, let's talk about something else, Deku said. Something else? But what, Blake asked. Whatever. Like. Have you ever seen the sea? I mean from a beach, not the Vale docks. I've always liked the beach, Deku said. I was born near the sea, actually, Blake said. Really, Deku asked. Yes. The village I lived in when I was young was on the coast. The water is beautiful there. If a bit cold, Blake said. What was the beach like, Deku asked. What was it like, Blake asked. Yes. Was it covered in sand or rocks? And what did it feel like, Deku asked. It was sand. Back home it was a fine powder. Feel very nice between your toes, except when it's midday, Blake said. Yeah. So you like the beach, Deku asked. Yes, but I mean, I liked taking baths and all. But, what I liked most was dozing in the sun. Letting the water dry on me. Curled up on a beach towel, Blake said. This made Deku think about how cat-like Blake sounded and that her now does actually look like a pair of cat ears. That's a weird way of dozing off, Deku said. Blake didn't respond. Blake, Deku asked. Blake didn't respond again. Deku then brought his scroll back to his ear and listened closely. All he heard was soft, rhythmic breathing. Deku then realized that Blake had fallen asleep. He smiled as he ended the call. Team JPDE had now gone to Junior's club for David's date with Neo. You're thinking there's less of an opportunity for her to do anything with this many people, right? Jack asked. I wish. She tackled Deku in broad daylight in the middle of the street, remember? But with this many people she won't have enough space, maybe, David said. But she is very small. She doesn't need as much space as others. She's perfect in this environment, Deku said. Crap. You should be doing this since you are smaller than me and have a better chance of seeing her in a crowd, David said. This is your punishment though for that comment, Deku said. Then why haven't you punished Evelyn, David asked. Anything I do to punish her would make things worse, Deku said. Fair point, David said. Anyway, calm down. We'll be watching, remember? And you're a hunter in training, getting stronger by the day. You should be able to handle her, Jack said. David then entered the club and looked for Neo. Deku had given a description of what David looked like to Neo. He just hoped he found her before she found him. David was then kicked in the calf. David turned to see Neo standing behind him, with a pout on her face. Ouch. It's nice to meet you, Neo, David said. Neo taps her feet on the ground twice and stares at David. David realized he walked right past her without seeing her. Sorry. I was distracted, David said. Neo's face went from pouting to anger. Look, I'm really sorry. But you told my teammate about your connections. And I'm in trouble, so I was thinking about that, David said. Neo gave a knowing smile. You actually know something about what's happening around me, don't you, David asked. Neo laughs for a brief moment before raising her right hand, index finger stretched out and waving left to right. I see. So, what do you want me to do? David asked. She laughs again before grabbing onto his right hand, and then drags David over to the dance floor. Evelyn and Penny were watching David and Neo from the second floor balcony. Everything seems to be going well so far, Evelyn said. Indeed. The approach wasn't exactly optimal, but the meeting seems to be proceeding normally, Penny said. Yeah. Dancing is no big deal. Even though, she's not that, Evelyn said. Neo then stepped on David's foot. Oh wow. She's really not good, Evelyn said. Neo then stepped off David's foot again, even harder than before. She's a terrible dancer, Evelyn said. Now I understand why she had to resort to blackmail to find a dancing partner, Penny said. Deku and Jack were watching them from the bar. Neo then stepped on David again. Oh, wow. And here I thought my Jack said. Neo then stepped on David's feet multiple times. Ouch. I think I should have given him my iron souls, Deku said. I hope whatever information she has is worth it, partner Jack said. After a long and painful time dancing, David and Neo were now off the dance floor. David's feet hurt all over. David risked having to fight 4 people on the dance floor, and he was also elbowed in the stomach. So, had fun? David asked. Neo nods with what seems to be a genuine smile. That's good. But I should go. It's a school day, David said. Neo pouts. Oh, don't be like that. I'm a student, remember? And anyway, now it's your turn to hold up your part of the deal. What do you know about Howard, Neo? David asked. Neo sighs and looks at David in a displeased way. But she nods and holds up her scroll. David smiles as Neo begins typing. Finally found you, a voice said. A girl with mint green hair and red eyes walked up to them. Neo's mood soured immediately when she appeared. They sent me to grab you. Remember that thing you were supposed to be there for? It's currently underway, the girl said. Neo pouted. Look, were it up to me, you could just do whatever you want. But he said something about a feeling and that you would understand what that means, the girl said. Neo gave in. I'll be. That actually worked, the girl asked. Neo then put her scroll away and began to follow the girl. Let's go, then. I'm one other guy trying to hit on me, away from, the girl said. Now wait just a goddamned minute, here, David shouted. What? The girl said. In case you weren't paying attention, Neo and I were talking about something, here, David said. One of those guys, huh? Look, you're definitely barking up the wrong tree here, trust me, the girl said. Have you ever danced with her? David asked. Excuse me, the girl said. I did. For the last 2 hours, David said. Eh? Good for you, the girl said. My feet hurt. People were injured. I may have a cracked rib, David said. Cracked, eh? What kind of dancing does that? The girl asked. Hers. And I endured it all for the opportunity to ask her something, David shouted. I'm warning you. Get out of my face, or the girl said. Then you come in, David said. Where? Your hands, the girl said. And you want her to leave with you just as she was about to tell me, David shouted. Let go of my shoulders, the girl said. Not a chance in, David shouted. I said to let go, you moron, the girl shouted. The girl then punched David in the face, knocking him out. Ow. Did someone get the license plate? David asked. Sorry, was too busy checking on your unconscious form, partner, Jack said. Ah. Jack. What? David said. Mocha skin, green hair, red eyes, Jack said. Oh, Gods damn it. Where's Neo? David shouted. Left with her, Deku said. David was about to swear. Don't worry. My scroll went off while you recovered. Haven't read it yet though, Deku said. Thank gods, David said. Deku then took out his scroll and began reading the message Neo sent. That was hilarious. Never seen that little Marciato lose her cool before like that, before. Tell you partner, he was pretty funny looking. I had fun with that tour, but next time I want you, and I won't let you escape. As promised, here's what I know about the Faunus guy who came to us asking questions about Blondie. Well, about the meteor and the crater. We didn't really know there was a kid until we investigated. Anyway, I don't really know the guy that well. But apparently, he's working with a former associate of my partner. A guy named Weza Van Gertie, Neo sent. Weza Van Gertie, Deku said. Weza Van Gertie. Who's that? David asked. It's a name. We got a name of who's after you, Deku said. Some progress, finally Jack said. I never met the guy but I know a few things. First, my partner believed Weza was dead before Howard contacted him. Also, he called him quite useful, which means he must be kind of smart. And lastly, when my partner started working with him, Weza was a third year at Beacon, Neo sent. Izuku. You okay there? You look like you've seen a ghost, Jack said. Beacon, Deku said. What about Beacon? David asked. This Weza. One of Howard's partners. He was in Beacon, Deku said. A former student from Beacon is, Jack said. After me, David said. Deku nodded. Couple of years later, when the guy graduated, he left Vale. My partner never saw him again, which is why he thought he was dead. Just up and left without telling anyone, and he never popped up in any of the Four Kingdoms again, as far as we know. If this Weza is still alive after 3 years in the wilds. You guys caught the attention of quite an interesting guy. Anyway, from now on I'm going to be quite busy. But I had fun. This doesn't mean though you have escaped me though. I still want to play with you, Neo sent. We should get Penny and Evelyn before we discuss this further, Jack said. Yeah, David said. Wednesday. Day 45. How did you like the new oatmeal? Evelyn asked. It wasn't as tasty as the other brand. But adding some honey should fix that problem. The other brand didn't really go well with honey, so I guess it's a tie, Deku said. I know, right? Like pouring cotton candy on more cotton, Evelyn said. You explain yourself, Young shouted. Young. What's wrong? Deku asked. Are you a hypnotist? Sleeping gas? Magic? Young asked. What? Young, could you start making sense? What happened? Deku asked. What happened is that we've been trying to get Blake to take a real break with no results for weeks, now Weiss said. And Evelyn asked. And yesterday we go back to our dorm and we find Blake napping, Ruby said. In the afternoon, Weiss said. Without opening a school book, Young said. And she slept all day, Ruby said. And only woke up for dinner, Weiss said. And her scroll had a suspended call from your scroll, Young said. So what did you do? The three members of Team RWBY asked. Honestly. It was just dumb luck, Deku said. The hell do you mean dumb luck? Young asked. Honest to God. I was just chatting with her on a call, talking about this and that, and I guess I invoked a relaxing memory for her, Deku said. It's not fair. Why couldn't we be that lucky? Ruby asked. Probably because you worry too much about her. Not without cause, I mean. I guess the thing is, I'm not in the loop to what's happening. I help her with relaxing. Which is something you can't do, Deku said. You make it sound like we're not good teammates, Weiss said. I didn't mean to, Deku said. Calm down, Aiju. They get what you mean, Evelyn said. Alright, lesson's about to start. We can discuss it more later. But Aijuku, whatever you are doing, keep doing it, Young said. I will, Deku said. That's enough. Mr. Dik Begis's aura is in the red, Glinda said. Something weighing on your mind, Ren asked. Ah. Yes. It shows, how David said. It does. But you recognized your mistakes and the reason for it on your own. Amateurs do not why they are, so that's a sign of progress, Ren said. Hey. Thanks, Ren, David said. If only he knew that half the reason is because of your feet, Evelyn said. I know, right? Jack isn't back yet, how David said. No. She told us to go and wait in the cafeteria and wait while she finishes with the headmaster if she isn't back at the end of lessons, Penny said. All right, David said. For our final match of the day. Mr. Wukong vs Mr. Midoriya, Glinda said. I'm up. I'll be heading straight for the showers afterwards. So don't wait for me, Deku said. We'll grab you lunch, Evelyn said. Thanks, Evelyn, Deku said. No. No. That's not right, Evelyn said. Deku sighed. Thanks. Babe, Deku said. You're welcome, honey, Evelyn said. Good luck, boyfriend, Penny said. After Deku's match, he hit the showers. Alright. Time to eat. Wonder what my girlfriend's got me. Still can't believe this happened, Deku said. Probably food. Unless your semblance allows you otherwise. Also, what this about girlfriends? Stutter voice asked. Deku turned around to see a girl with peach-colored hair and in a white or grey uniform. Well, anyone can eat stuff that is not food. It's more about whether you survive, Deku said. Fair enough. And I must say your combat professor is strict. I thought my professor back in Atlas was strict, but after seeing Riding Crop, I'm glad I'm not a full-time student here, the girl said. Oh, you're from Atlas. One of my teammates is from Atlas as well, Deku said. Oh, I know. She's actually why I approached you, honestly. My name is Nyan Cat, Nyan said. Aijuku Midoriya. So you know Penny, Deku asked. Not personally. But I'm on a super secret mission to get some information for her, Nyan said. A secret mission? And why can't you tell her directly, Deku asked. Because there's the risk that General Ironwood may get to know about it too, Nyan said. I see. Who is the information from? And why did they give it to you, Deku asked. It's from Penny's father. You should have seen my face when my scroll went off with an unknown number. I was like, who are you and how do you get my number? Are you a stalker? And, he contacted me because General Ironwood doesn't take me seriously, Nyan said. Huh? Why doesn't he take you seriously? I mean, each school handpicked only a handful of teams, so that means your team is exceptional, no, Deku asked. Yeah, but the general thinks that my team got to where it is despite me, not with me. Oh, but I'll show him. I'll show everyone. Anyway, ready to memorize? They are 2 sentences. I don't really understand the sense myself, but it sounded important, Nyan said. Okay. What is the super secret message, Deku asked. Alright. The first sentence is the one you need to keep from Penny as well. It says the limit is 3 minutes, Nyan said. The limit is 3 minutes, Deku asked. And the second sentence is. The sandwiches are no longer safe, Nyan said. This makes even less sense, but I guess it will for Penny. Although, why should I keep the second message a secret from her, Deku asked. I don't think so. Well. I think it's something that she needs to know, but wouldn't be able to keep a secret. So. Maybe it's something you need to tell her when she needs to know, Nyan said. So. When am I supposed to tell her? Deku asked. Beats me. I don't even know what he was talking about, Neon said. So it's up for me to decide when the time is right, Deku said. Try not to dwell on it though. If you do that, you'll become Beowulf's lunch, Neon said. Yeah. Though they won't get any nutrients eating me now. You coming? Deku asked. Oh, you don't know the half of it. Love handles, here we come, Neon said. As Deku and Neon went to the mess hall, Jack had finished talking to Ozpin. And that's the end of it, sir. Our attacker let it slip that High Leader is a Beacon graduate, so that at least gives us something to go on, Jack said. Van Gertie, Ozpin said. Headmaster, sir, this is getting more serious than we thought it could be, Jack said. Indeed it has. I won't go as far as saying that any hunter who has trained in Beacon has gone on to grow into a morally outstanding person. But this is unprecedented, Ozpin said. Sire, I doubt this has been a recent change. Maybe we will be able to find some hints in his file in the student archives. I figured you'd keep some sort of archive, sir. It was an easy guess, Jack said. That's not what my surprise is for, Miss Ivory. I'm sorry to say, those archives are off limits to you and your team, Ozpin said. Headmaster, I understand the need for privacy and secrecy, but it is just the one file. We won't go rummaging through the archives, Jack said. I appreciate your consideration, Miss Ivory, but what I mean is, you and your team are to stop researching Weather Van Gertie and his association with Mr. Dik Begis altogether, Ozpin said. Sir, with all due respect, I need a good explanation, Jack said. When I first accepted Mr. Dik Begis and Miss Polendina into Beacon, I did so for 3 reasons. One was to give you and Miss Damarot teammates to better integrate you into the student populace. The second was because I had suspicious about Mr. Dik Begis's origins. The third is not for your ears. But with each new details revealed his nature, I now understand that none of my theories apply. Mr. Dik Begis's nature is completely uncharted territory for me, his enemies complete unknowns. And that has never happened before. Not with things tied to the past of Remnant, Ozpin said. Sir, that's precisely why we need to research more intel. That's what you have the orphans for, Jack said. Indeed. But Miss Polendina, Mr. Dik Begis and Mr. Midoriya are not orphans. We cannot risk their lives, Ozpin said. Sir, you can try that on someone not involved. Their lives are already at risk. We've been attacked. Evelyn almost died, Jack said. Because you were training without supervision outside school grounds. As long as you avoid straying outside our protection, no further harm will come to you, Ozpin said. Or we will be caught ungraded, pants around our ankles, Jack said. It will not be left alone, Miss Ivory. The topic will simply receive attention at a later date, after we've cleared up another incoming situation, Ozpin said. Oh, really? That sounds fantastic. Except for the part where Howard was able to move in and out of Beacon as he wanted. I do not trust the faculty's ability to protect us while we sit on our ass, Headmaster. But I acquiesce. Fine, keep your archives. I will go inform my team of your decision, Jack said. Dismissed, Ozpin said. Jack then left Ozpin's office. Indeed. And that is why I don't need you brining further attention and enemies my way, Miss Ivory, Ozpin said. Deku entered the amphitheater to see Pyrrha, cutting a dummy into pieces. Deku then noticed, what he counted as 50 dummies all destroyed in a pile. Pyrrha then threw her latest victim into the pile. He then noticed that Pyrrha seemed to be angry. Hey Pyrrha. Is everything okay? Deku asked. Oh, hi Izuku. And no, everything is not okay, Pyrrha said. What's the problem? Deku asked. Jung, Pyrrha said. Oh. Is the training not going well? Deku asked. No. It's actually going very well. Actually, now that I think about it. It's me that's the problem, Pyrrha said. Is this about your crush on him? Deku asked. Yes. I just can't keep this up. I mean waiting for the end of the year. I don't know if I can wait that long. But I still don't want to confess in fear he'll reject me, Pyrrha said. I see. Have you tried making him fall in love with you? Deku asked. Yes, I have actually. Evelyn and David gave me some advice, but suffice to say it hasn't been working. I've tried many things to make him look at me differently, but I get nothing. It just really annoys me, Pyrrha said. I see. And that's why you are taking your frustrations out on the dummies, Deku said. Yeah, Pyrrha said. Tell you what. Why don't you take your frustrations out on me? Deku said. I can't do that. You shouldn't have offered to do that at all, Pyrrha said. Well, it's better than destroying 51 dummies and explaining to Professor Goodwixth why they are all destroyed, Deku said. You have a point, Pyrrha said. And I'll be here listening to all your problems and try to help you through them, Deku said. You know what? I'll take you up on that, Pyrrha said. Good. Let's start now, Deku said. Pyrrha and Deku then started to fight. Pyrrha didn't say a word throughout the fight. A while later the sun had set, and they decided to call it quits for today. The two then began to head to the school showers to wash up. Thanks, Izuku, I really needed that, Pyrrha said. No problem. Call me whenever you need to blow off steam, Deku said. I will. Thank you again, Izuku, Pyrrha said. The two then arrived at the changing rooms and went inside. Little did they know that Jun had saw them walking together and had heard what they were saying. Welcome back, Izuku, Penny said. Hey, Penny, Deku said. The others are finishing with the dishes in the kitchen, Penny said. I see. Speaking of cooking, Penny, I have a message from your father, Deku said. My father. But how did he contact you? Penny asked. That's not important. He wanted me to tell you this. The sandwiches are no longer safe, Deku said. Oh. I see, Penny said. Is something wrong? What does it mean? Deku asked. It's about a loss of privacy. It's nothing too bad, but Penny said. The general controls your communications, Deku asked. Not exactly. It's just that he has the only means of contacting my father, but in front of the general I can't talk to him as I'd like to, Penny said. I see. I'm sorry, Penny, Deku said. For what? You had no hand in this, Penny said. But I can see that it makes you sad. And I don't like seeing you sad, Deku said. Well. Maybe you could, Penny said. Sorry, Penny, but whatever you wanted to ask him to do will have to wait for after I'm asleep, Jack said. It was nothing overtly sexual, Penny said. You sure? I thought you were finally ready, Evelyn said. No, I just wanted. Maybe a hug, Penny said. In case, feel free to do it while I'm awake as well, Jack said. I wouldn't have done anything sexual anyways. Though for me and David are a different story, Evelyn said. Carrots, don't you even? Oh, what's the point? Just keep it down, Jack said. I can't promise that, David said. Better get to bed quickly, Jackie, Evelyn said. Returning to the matter at hand, the headmaster denied me access to the student archives, Jack said. Typical, Evelyn said. He denied us, Penny asked. But why, David asked. He wants to handle the investigation on his own, since a Beacon alumnus is involved. Also, it seems like we've reached a point where even he can't predict what's going to happen next. We're in completely uncharted territory, Jack said. I can see that, but we're directly involved in this. Our lives have already been placed in danger and we can't know anything about this guy. We can't stay on the defensive, David said. Looks like that's exactly what he wants us to do. I didn't tell him about our source, though, Jack said. Good. I mean, David said. I can't say I approve of this course of action, Penny said. I agree. What is he thinking? Deku asked. He's probably thinking, oh, what it'd look like if it got out that a former Beacon student is behind attacks on current Beacon students, Evelyn said. And that he had affiliations with the criminal underworld when he was still in school, Jack said. Affiliations that I bet went completely unnoticed. So he prefers to sweep as much as he can under the rug to save face, David said. More than that, the headmaster seems to already have his attention on something else. So, he will not do anything that may bring more on his table, Jack said. Where does that leave us? Penny asked. One thing we can do is look up his old address in Vale, Jack said. His old address? Evelyn asked. Oh, of course, Penny said. Care to elaborate? Deku asked. As hands-off as Ozpin can be, I doubt he would fail to notice one of his students coming and going to Vale regularly, oftentimes staying out till the crack of dawn. If not him, Professor Goodwitch surely would, Jack said. So it's safe to assume that he wasn't living in the dormitories at the time, Penny said. Yeah. So I was thinking that on Sunday, we could look it up in Vale. If he was renting an apartment, he must have left a trace, Jack said. But even if we find his old apartment, what would we even do with it? Evelyn asked. Some neighbors who may remember him, maybe something left that wasn't removed by new tenants. It's a long shot, but it's the only one we have, barring having a forceful look at the school archive, Jack said. Which I doubt we would even be able to accomplish, David said. Thursday. Day 46. The general feelings of the students seem to be split about this, Professor Penny said. I know, right? Maybe she's really strict. Stricter than Professor Goodwitch, Deku said. Professor Peach then entered the classroom. A good morning to all of you, children. Let me begin by saying, it's good to be back, Peach said. Welcome back, Professor Peach Wise said. Thanks, Miss Schnee. And Miss Rose, I see you're looking as glum as ever at the prospect of my lessons, Peach said. Sorry, Professor. I just ate something bad at breakfast, Ruby said. Miss Rose. You couldn't lie, save your life. Never change. Unless you have to. Also, Miss Goodwitch told me that 5 new students joined while I was on leave. May I ask Team JPDE to stand up, Peach said. Jack, Evelyn and Deku stand up, and so do Penny and David, who are a few rows in front. She observes them for a few seconds, without asking them to introduce themselves. You're certainly a colorful agglomerate. Like crystals of raw dust. Have you managed to catch up with the rest of the class? Peach asked. Yes, Miss Peach. The other students have been very helpful in that regard, Jack said. Weiss in particular was very kind to me and David, Deku said. Deku see Weiss' eyes widen and her mouth also beams. Very good. Which means we can go even further now, and explore the mysteries of dust, Peach said. The mysteries of dust? David asked. Indeed, Mr. Dik Begis. I guess that my substitute has gotten you used to a normal curriculum, didn't he? Textbook study on the nature of dust and its various uses on the battlefield. My lessons are a bit different. And they are also the reason why Miss Rose can't be 100% happy about my return, despite being a sweetheart, Peach said. That's not true, Ruby said. I must insist, Miss Rose. If you were sugar content in an alcoholic beverage, you'd make it a health hazard, Peach said. Penny, what the hell does that mean? David asked. The potency of alcoholic beverages depends on their sugar content. So by making it a health hazard, we can surmise that Ruby is the equivalent of a great amount of sugar, Penny said. Oh, David said. Weiss, what do I say? Ruby asked. You smile and take the compliment, dunce, Weiss said. Now, Miss Schnee, she's not that dense. My metaphors aren't for everyone, Peach said. I so need to write this down, Blake said. Anyway, for today we'll forego practice. Let's see where you got with the curriculum, Peach said. Dust class had now ended. So, thought David asked. She seems competent, and affable. Witty but not in a nasty way, Jack said. This is the first time I've heard about practice in dust classes for hunters. Dust usage is covered in combat class, Penny said. And I love how she managed to compliment and insult people in the same sentence. That takes skill, Evelyn said. I like her clothes. They are very different compared to the other teachers. What? They are nice clothes, Deku said. Not the point, partner, Jack said. I'm glad to know you find my fashion sense aesthetically pleasing, Mr. Midoriya, Peach said. Hello, Professor Deku said, blushing. Sorry for putting you on the spot like that. Awful timing on my part, Peach said. On the contrary, I'd call it perfect, Evelyn said. Shut up, Evelyn, Deku said. Anyway, I wanted to know if you'd like to have lunch with me, Team Jade, Peach said. Don't teachers have their own lodge, Jack asked. Indeed. But just like you had to catch up on the curriculum, I have a responsibility to catch up on knowing my students. Also, I can't deny being curious about you lot. Glinda only briefly at your situation, but it sounds intriguing, Peach said. I see. We'd be more than happy to have you, Professor Jack said. Excellent. I will reach you in a couple minutes. Got a blackboard to tidy up, Peach said. This could actually be to our advantage, Jack said. I concur, Penny said. She seems more at ease in mingling with students, David said. Hopefully she's not in the grey-haired assholes inner circle, Evelyn said. Considering her personality, I doubt she would be in his inner circle, Deku said. How have you already learned to talk like her, Evelyn asked. What, Deku asked. What you said could be considered an insult to Professor Peach's mental age, Penny said. I didn't mean it like that, Deku said. Deku was walking through the beacon halls at night, returning to his dorm from the library. As he walked, he heard something. Hi, Izuku, a Faunus girl said, as she passed him on her roller skates. Ha, Deku said. Why is he serious? You've never seen a pair of rollerblades, the girl asked. I have seen rollerblades. I'm more wondering who you are, Deku said. Say what? What do you mean you don't? Oh, wait. It's not that you don't know me, it's that you don't recognize me, the girl said. So we've met before, Deku asked. What if I tell you that the sandwiches aren't safe, the girl said. The sandwiches, Deku said, as he remembered who gave him that message. Oh my god, you're Nyan Cat, Deku asked. The one and only Nyan said. Deku could believe that this girl was Nyan. Her change was so drastic from when they met the first time. So, what are you doing skating around the halls at night, Deku asked. Getting some training in, Nyan said. So your weapons are rollerblades, Deku asked. No, but they are a part of my fighting style, Nyan said. I see. But how do you deal with anything that isn't paved? As soon as you go onto grass, you'll fall over, Deku said. Observant. I have a way around that, though. Don't worry, Nyan said. I see. So your fighting style relies on rollerblades, Deku asked. And one more thing. Although it's hard to get some real practice in for that. I mean, I can do it on my own, but you can't really value the efficiency without a partner, you know, Nyan said. You mean you can't find someone to help you with that? Not even your teammates, Deku asked. Yup. They tried but they couldn't take it, Nyan said. How so, Deku asked. Well, I guess people don't like getting insulted. But that's the whole point, Nyan said. I see why it can be a bit to trouble. In fact, one of my friends from back home would insult others on the regular. Even when not fighting. And it's where my nickname Deku comes from, Deku said. So you are familiar with the art of trash talking, Neon asked. I guess. But I can't see how it help in a fight. I mean Bakugo would just shout insults at us, but that didn't do anything, Deku said. I could say the same about your dick and your bedroom performance, Neon said. Excuse me, Deku said. An opening, Neon said. Neon then went to hit Deku, but he caught her arm before she could hit him. Sorry, but you'll need to monkey around more to be effective on me, Deku said. I'm a cat faunus, Neon shouted. Oh. Then that's what the blades are actually for, running away like the pussy you are, Deku said. You racist little, Neon shouted. Neon's legs were then swept out from under her and Deku pushed her to the ground. Left yourself open there twice, Deku said. Neon's eyes widened as she realized what Deku did. That was very fucking good. Have you done this before, Neon asked. No, I just came up with that on the spot, Deku said. Well. Maybe you have a hidden talent for it. You know what would be up for help me practice my trash talking, Neon asked. Sure, why not? Giving it a try won't be that bad, Deku said. Great. Let's exchange scroll number, Neon said. The two then pulled out their scrolls and exchanged contacts. Now. When you're ready to start, come find me in the amphitheater at night, Neon said. Okay. I'll see you around. Monkey, Deku said. Oh, I'll get you back. I just need to find a good insult, Neon said. Might be hard for a cat though. They do lie around a lot, Deku said. Got me again, Deku, Neon said. The two then went their separate ways. Friday. Day 47. Deku still couldn't believe the relationship he was in. He had gone from no girlfriend to having two overnight, and a boyfriend. Deku didn't know if he swung that way, but neither did the girls with each other. So. He didn't know what to think. All he knew was that he loved and cared for all of them. Okay, done returning the book to the library. Let's go, Evelyn said. David and Deku had joined Evelyn as she returned a book to the library. The three began to walk off when I found you, Gwen shouted. A good afternoon to the three of you, Octavia said. Yeah, what? What, she said. Hi, Gwen said. Good afternoon, Deku said. Hello, Gwen. Okatvia, David said. Javu. You have a habit for making weird entrances, don't you, Evelyn said. Phew, that she does. You should see her fighting. Anyway, that's not what we're here for today. Right, Octavia said. Right. First of all, I apologize. I didn't even introduce myself last time. My name is Gwen Darcy, Gwen said. And I'm Octavia Ember. Nice to meet you, Octavia said. David. Dik Begis. A pleasure, David said. Ijuku Midori, Deku said. Evelyn Damarot. So, now that introductions are out of the way, what can we do for you, Evelyn asked. Date, Gwen said. Excuse me, David, Evelyn and Deku said. What Gwen is trying to say is, she's here to collect on that date, Octavia said. Gwen, right. I'm sorry, but there seems to be, Evelyn said. Oh, I know, it was dreadful of her to just run after getting an agreement. But success kind of floored her, you know. After so many rejections, Octavia said. So many. How many rejections are we talking about, here, David asked. What does that, Evelyn said. 50, Gwen said. Would you excuse us on minute, Evelyn asked. Of course. Take all the time you need, Octavia said. Evelyn, Deku and David then entered a nearby classroom. I know what you're thinking. Stop it, Evelyn said. I'm not really thinking about anything except 50 times, David said. Do you think it was by 50 different people, Deku asked. I don't know and I don't want to know. Anyway, You can't go on a date with her just because you feel sorry for her, okay, Evelyn said. Evelyn, I wasn't going to, David said. Oh, good. Because that'd be bad. Even though you might feel sorry for her. And despite the fact that, even though she was a nervous wreck, Evelyn said before starting to mumble. Evelyn, David said. He changed his mind, I know, Gwen said. Nonsense, just give them a few more seconds, and Octavia said. David, Evelyn and Deku then came out of the classroom. So, about that date. When would be a god day for you, David asked. For real, Gwen asked. This hunk is all yours for the taking. I've got my hunk right here, Evelyn said, latching onto Deku's arm, and kissing him on the cheek. Yeah. Of course. You're not going to run away again, are you, David asked. Who? Me. Of course not, Gwen stuttered. What about you just exchange scroll numbers for now? You don't have to decide on the spot, Octavia said. Right. Shall we, Gwen asked. Of course, David said. David and Gwen then went to exchange scroll numbers. Thanks for cooperation, Octavia said, and then she went to Gwen. I do, Evelyn said. Yes, Evelyn, Deku asked. Add 2 rounds, Evelyn said. Okay. Do you also want to go back to our room for cuddles, Deku asked. Yes. And lots of kisses, Evelyn said. After Gwen and David exchanged scroll numbers, Evelyn and Deku went back to their room and spent the evening cuddling and kissing. Night had now fallen, and Penny, Evelyn and Deku were on the balcony. Deku was sitting on a chair, with Evelyn sitting on him, at 90 degrees. So, Evelyn. Mind explaining why you insisted I go on a date with Gwen, David asked. Well. I just felt bad for her, considering. You thought it was just a joke, some kind of dare. But still, you did agree to it before we got together, no, Evelyn said. That's true, but David said. I mean, I can't imagine what it must feel like, being rejected by 50 different boys. I bet that once she got over the surprise, this must mean a lot to her, Evelyn said. Yes, it probably does, but... Evelyn, are you absolutely sure about this, David asked. Yes. I am, Evelyn said. And what about you two, David asked. If Evelyn is okay with it, so am I, Penny said. I'm okay with it, but David. What are your feelings on the matter, Deku asked. Well, I guess I also feel bad for her, so. As long as you all are okay with it, David said. I am. I swear. Knock yourself out. But don't be too harsh on her, Evelyn said. Sure, David said. David then went back into their room. So you're not going to share your deep-seated feeling of insecurity with him, Penny asked. I don't have anything like that, Evelyn said. Don't lie to yourself, Evelyn. Why else did we spend the evening together, Deku asked. Because you're my boyfriend, duh. No insecurities whatsoever, Evelyn said. I think you do. Your vitals tell me that you're not at all comfortable with the thought of David going on a date with this Gwen. So, if you are, what makes you push yourself to tell him otherwise and allow this to happen, Penny asked. Ijuku, Evelyn said. Yes, Evelyn. Do you think I may have come on too strong with you, and by extension David? When the girl Gwen asked you out on a date. Even though she thought we were dating, I think I may have panicked, thinking I'll miss my chance. Now I do regret what I did at the party, but I don't regret what happened afterwards. Maybe, if I had gone about it normally, instead of just shoving my tongue down of your throat, we wouldn't be together, right now. Granted, shoving my tongue into David's throat as well, wasn't a great move, but still. I didn't want to miss my chance, Evelyn said. You got scared, Penny asked. Yes. But that's no excuse, is it? I mean, this girl has had more rejections than I've had colds. And yet she's still Evelyn said. I see. While you execution of your plan. In both regards to getting me drunk to get me more agreeable with your plan. And then going over to David. I honestly think you did come on a bit too strong, Deku said. Do you hate me for this? Evelyn asked. No, Deku said. So, in the spirit of fairness, you want both David and Gwen to experience a normal date of theirs? Penny asked. Yes, Evelyn said. I see. But why haven't you shared this with David? I'm sure he'd understand, Penny said. Because I'm afraid he'd agree. Just like you, I do, Evelyn said, crying. Penny. Would you give us some time? Deku asked. Of course, Penny said. Penny then went inside, leaving Deku and Evelyn alone. Evelyn. While I do have to admit that you did come on fair to strong. Especially for me. I don't think of you as a bad person for that. You just wanted to make sure you wouldn't miss your chance. So you accelerated your plans. And though things didn't go to plan, things worked out in the end, didn't they? Deku said. Yeah. And what does that have to do with this? Evelyn asked. I think this will work out between you and David, Deku said. I hope you're right, Evelyn said. Now let's go back inside, Deku said. Actually. Could you add another round? Evelyn asked. You really are a rabbit, Deku said. The ears are not just for show, Evelyn said. Deku and Evelyn began to make out on the balcony. They then continued in Evelyn's bed, and leaving some marks on each other's bodies, before they went to bed, snuggling. Saturday. Day 48. Deku woke up, still in bed with Evelyn from their night of kisses and snuggles. Deku then went to get out of bed, but Evelyn latched onto him. No. Don't go. I want more snuggles, Evelyn said, still half asleep. Seeing that he wouldn't be able to get out of bed anytime soon, without waking up the sexy bunny next to him, Deku decided to snuggle back up with Evelyn and go back to sleep. A while later, Deku felt something on his body. Know someone? Evelyn. We talked about this, Deku said, his eyes still shut. But I'm not Evelyn, and what did you talk about? A female voice asked. Deku recognized their voice. Deku opened his eyes to see Nora sitting on top of him. Nora, Deku shouted. Hey Deku, Nora said. What? What are you doing in my team's dorm? And what are you on top of me? Deku asked. Because I needed to wake you up. And you weren't waking up the other ways I tried. That answers my second question. But why are you here? Deku asked. You see, Nora said. A few minutes earlier. What? Nora shouted. Nora. Indoor voice please, Ren said. What do you mean you can't teach me the pancake recipe? Nora asked. I'm very sorry, Nora. But I forgot I had already made plans for today. But I promise you, first thing tomorrow, I'll teach you my pancake recipe, Ren said. Okay, Nora said. Are you mad? Ren asked. I could never be mad at you, Rennie. It's just that I was looking forward for today, but I guess I can wait one more day, Nora said. Well, there is another way for you to learn, Ren said. How? I don't know the recipe, Nora said. That's true. But I'm not the only one that knows, Ren said. Back to the present. And so, you see. You're gonna teach me how to cook Ren's pancakes, Nora said. So you broke into my team's room just so that you could ask me to teach you how to make pancakes? Deku asked. Hey. I did not break into your room. The door was unlocked and open when I arrived, Nora said. I guess one of the others left the door open, Deku said. So. Are we just gonna sit here or are we going to make pancakes? Nora asked. Deku sighed. Go into the kitchen and prepare, while I get up and dress, Deku said. Okay, Nora said. Nora then jumped off Deku, picked up a bag full of pancake ingredients, and skipped over to the kitchen. "She's very energetic," Deku said. Deku then got out of bed, making sure not to wake Evelyn, and gave her a pillow to cuddle. He then entered the bathroom. He washed up and got dressed. As he exited the bathroom, he noticed he had a text message from Ren. "Sorry for putting you on the spot with Nora. And also, sorry for later," Ren texted. "What does that mean?" Deku texted. "You will find out at your expenses," Ren texted. Nora then came out of the kitchen. "Kitchen's ready, Deku," Nora said. "Nora. Keep it down please. Evelyn is still asleep," Deku said. "What? But it's almost 9 am," Nora said. "Evelyn likes to sleep in on the weekends. She's usually wakes up quite late into the day," Deku said. "I see. By the way, why were you in bed with her?" Nora asked. That's Deku said, blushing. "Oh, who cares? Enough dilly-dallying. The kitchen awaits," Nora said. Nora then grabbed Deku's hand and dragged him into the kitchen. "So, where do we start?" Nora asked. "First of all, we have to make the batter." "Got the whisk?" Deku asked. "Got them," Nora said. "All right. Now add the flour, eggs, milk, oil and salt," Deku said. "Salt? But pancakes are sweet," Nora said. "But not too sweet, right?" Deku said. "Oh," Nora said. "And now you need to stir it like this, until everything is mixed properly," Deku said. I see. So no bubbles and pieces floating," Nora said. "Exactly. Wanna try while I grab what we need for later?" Deku asked. "Sure," Nora said. Deku then began to grab what they would need for later. It's getting harder to whip," Nora said. "You can add a little more milk," Deku said. "Okay," Nora said. Nora added some milk to the batter and began to mix. It's still taking too much," Nora said. "Yeah, it can be tiring, but it's just a matter of finding the right," Deku said. "Let's try with more force," Nora said. "Nora. While it may make it easier to stir, if you go too fast you risk," Deku said. Most of the batter then flew out of the bowl. "Yeah, this," Deku said. "Whoops. Sorry," Nora said. "Let's try again," Deku said. Nora and Deku then tried making pancakes again. "Nora. Don't add chocolate chips," Deku said. "But I like chocolate chip pancakes the best," Nora said. "Nora, we've barely managed to make the batter for Ren's normal pancakes and you had to go and change clothes while I cleaned up. Let's stick to the basics for now. You add chocolate chips when you can make pancakes on your own," Deku said. "Oh. Fine," Nora said. Evelyn then woke up from all the noise. "Huh? What with all this noise? And where my hunk?" Evelyn asked, still very sleepy. "Here, see. Once the skillet is hot enough you put a layer of butter on it so that the batter doesn't stick when it's time to flip it," Deku said. "What's going on in the kitchen?" Evelyn asked. "It's still sticking. I don't want to ruin the pancake," Nora said. "Give it a few more seconds. This cider is not properly cooked yet," Deku said. "Then let's make it hotter," Nora said. "Nora, it's an eclectic stove. We can't make it any holy," Deku shouted. "Wah! Too hot. Too hot," Nora shouted. "God almighty, how did you even do that?" Deku shouted. "Later. We've got to put it out," Nora said. "Of course we do. What are you doing with the skillet?" Deku asked. Nora then hit the fire with the skillet in an attempt to put it out. But it only made things worse. "Why would you do that?" Deku asked. "What the fuck is going on?" Evelyn asked. Evelyn then got out of bed and headed to the kitchen. She opened the door to see part of the kitchen covered in soot, and to see Nora with a slightly burnt pancake on her head and a small flame in her hair and holding a very damaged skillet. My god. Nora, are you alright? Deku asked. I put out the fire, Nora said. Not all of it. But why would you even try to put out a fire by hitting it? Deku asked. Why not? It worked. Although I don't think we can cook anymore today, Nora said. I'd say you blew up our kitchen, Evelyn said. Oh. Hello, Evelyn, Nora said. Sorry for waking you, Deku said. It's fine. I'm gonna go back to bed, Evelyn said. Evelyn then left the kitchen and closed the door behind her. Do you want me to put the rest of the fire out? Deku asked. Pretty please. It kinda hurts to move, Nora said. Hold still, Deku said. After putting out the fire in Nora's hair, Deku helped Nora to the bathroom to wash up. After washing up, the two were just outside Team Jade's room. So, yeah. That was an experience, Deku said. Sorry. It's all my fault. Ren always tells me that I should learn to take things more slowly, but Nora said. Yeah, Deku said. I bet you never want to see me again, Nora said. Nah, Deku said. Really, Nora asked. Really? But please, no more cooking lessons. You've learned the recipe. Now you just need more patience, Deku said. Hey. Promise. Maybe next time we can, maybe exercise together. I can help you with that, Nora said. Sure, Deku said. Alrighty, then. It's a deal, Nora said. Nora then left for her room. Deku watched her go, but then a set of hands grabbed him and dragged him back inside and into bed. Hey there, Deku said. Hey there yourself, Evelyn said. So why have you dragged me back into bed? Deku asked. Because I want more snuggles, Evelyn said. How many more snuggles do I have to give you? Deku asked. You'll always have to give me snuggles, Evelyn said. Deku sighed. Actually, snuggles feel very appealing. Nora is very energetic, Deku said. Well then I'll give you the best snuggles on Remnant, Evelyn said. Evelyn quickly undid her shirt but left it on. She then grabbed Deku's head and shoved it into her boobs. Evelyn, Deku said in a panic. Now let's get you out of these, Evelyn said. She then stripped Deku out of his clothes. Deku was too tired to fight back against her action, so he fell asleep on the world's comfiest pillows. End of chapter 15.